Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Saturday morning and we're going to try to efficiently cover both slates today. There's an early 5-game slate and then there's a main 5-game slate. There's also a afternoon slate, but we're going to skip that one. Nice thing about both slates is I think everybody kind of faded the Mets and Washington game because I don't think anybody's positive that they're going to play today. But the nice thing also today is it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day throughout the nation. Some cold temperatures on the East Coast. The only really weather noteworthy thing is that the wind is possibly blowing out anywhere from 16 to 20 miles per hour in Wrigley Field. So that could definitely help the bats there. And definitely the cold temperatures will probably possibly help the pitchers, not the hitters. But, we've seen a lot of crazy things happen in the last couple of days. So ready to break down today. So start with starting pitcher, McKinley. Like, who's your top guy today?
Top
Or is there
guy, there's not one specifically. Obviously, you got the two big names here with Kluber and Plesac going. Plesac had a really rough spring. He allowed in 23 innings pitched, he allowed 9 home runs. He had an ERA of 7. So he really struggled. I mean, he is facing a Detroit lineup that does strike out a lot. So I definitely see him being a possibility there as an SP1
Yeah,
or
definitely K
SP2.
upside.
Yeah, the KF side is definitely there. Kluber, the other real ace on the mound going today in the early slate, but those Toronto bats, they can
They're
get to
scary.
really anybody. They're scary. So I'm not locked in on him either. And then you just looking down the salary list here, we got Arrieta, you got 20-mile-an-hour winds blown straight out at Wrigley. How much is he going to get hit? He is a ground
Well,
ball
the nice thing
pitcher.
about him is he's a ground ball pitcher, though, at least. I mean, he's not going to get you any strikeouts. He's going to be an inning eater, and definitely, I think the Cubs definitely have the better bats there. So, there's
Mhm.
definitely some win equity. So if he gets 5 or 6 clean, maybe he gives up, 1 run or so. I think that's definitely, the nice thing
Yeah,
is like all these pitchers are like below like 10K. It's not like we're paying up like an astronomical amount for anybody.
no, no. So who knows what area is going to look like. We could make a case for Mike Minor for KC. I know Texas just chased out Keller for 10 runs in that opening day, and they've
True.
been hitting. So, but there's no real person I'm super locked in on. But I can make a case for the two aces, Kluber, Plesac, Hauk for Boston. Interesting as well. He had some control issues in the spring with lots of walks. But who knows? He could have been experimenting with stuff. He's a big favorite today,
Yep.
going against Baltimore. So can make a case for him as well. I don't know. I really think it's really up to personal preference here. I think a lot of options are in play, and also I can make a case against almost every single one as well. So
Yeah, and I agree with you. I like Minor. Texas is definitely by far over. I looked over the last 3 years, last 5 years of their current roster has the highest K percent. I think is mostly Joey Gallo, but um, and he's a K pitcher, which is good. Houck definitely, like I said, the best favorite. Like I don't think the line's out for the Cubs game yet. They usually set those pretty late based on changing weather conditions, but he's got a 33% K rate against the Baltimore team, who's been top 5 the last 5 years in Ks also. So the only other guy that I'd possibly throw out there is a deep GPP. If you want to try to pay up for some bats as an SP2 or maybe like contrarian option on Fanduel if you want to load up, but usually pricing is a little bit softer there, is Ross Strickland. Um, he's for Toronto, so and against the Yankees team, but they had some spells during spring training where they were cold. They tend sometimes to have a high K rate, some of these guys in the lineup. And also like they really didn't hit good in the first game. I think, they have a ton of potential, but I think they're warmer weather hitters. And I think, as the season progresses, we'll see them, this murderer row lineup come to life and, start cranking out the home runs and the hits and the runs. But I think early on in the season, they might struggle for a little bit before they get
yeah,
everything together.
I can always see that happening. Absolutely.
and they lost, Voit out of that lineup. So, it's not as potent, but, they still definitely have some good professional hitters there, and hopefully they stay healthy through the rest of the year. So, um, yeah. So, okay. So, like, who are we looking to take for bats? Who's your team that you're going to be stacking?
It's Chicago.
Okay.
Absolutely Chicago. Wind blowing out, going against Anderson. Um, Anderson let up 6 home runs in 18 innings in spring. And I think that's just going to continue on here at Wrigley. So give me the Chicago righties. Contreras, Baez, Bryant, Happ, switch hitter. So I'm definitely going to be loading up the Chicago bats here. Other stacks or other teams I'm going to be looking at.
You know what? When I woke this morning and the sun was shining and I opened up the slate and I saw that Matt Harvey was pitching against Boston, I became so happy.
Yeah,
I love the Red Sox today.
No,
Kiki is still too cheap. You can do a nice little stack there, anywhere 1 through 6. I like JD, Bogart, Devers. He's even splits, so like has struggled just as much versus righties as he has lefties. So I think the choice is, do you take Verdugo, or do you save a little bit and go down to Renfroe in the 6 and like skip the second spot? But even like sprinkling in some of these guys at the bottom of the lineup, doing the wraparound stack, there's a lot of potential there too.
absolutely.
The other stack that okay, go ahead.
I was say, I'm sticking with that game in Baltimore and Boston. On the other side, Baltimore, some of the bats are just way too cheap. Mancini, Mullins, possible 1-2 right there. You got a min price at 2K, and then the other guy is 2.1.
Yeah. Mancini, I know he missed last year with cancer, but he's come back cancer free. He had a good preseason. That pricing is just egregious. It is like way too cheap. So I definitely, even taking him against, like, if you use Houck as a pitcher, I can see it.
Yeah.
The other stack that I really like is I'm all in on the Indians today. I think that they have a really good chance to score some decent runs. If Ben Gamel leads off, like he's 2-1 on Fanduel, 3-2 on DK. Cesar Hernandez is absolutely owned Tehran. So, I mean, that's a tough choice there because I prefer Kiki at second base and like to leave my outfield open. But if I have to, I could slide Kiki to outfield and take him. J-Ram, Rosario, and even like some of the lower bats, like left-handed ones like Naylor or like Bowers is a cheap first baseman, or even going down to Gimenez and like doing the wraparound stack. I think I'm going to be going like Boston, Cleveland stack.
Yep. No issues with that. And that's why I love about this early slate here. I just think there's so many bats and teams that are in play. And I mean, that kind of goes right in line with what I said earlier about pitcher. I don't know exactly where you want to go. It's kind of personal preference here, because there's issues with pretty much everybody on the slate here.
The final thing is, as I mentioned in the first video, like started like 5 years ago, stacking 2 teams every single day, and I couldn't do it yesterday because both teams were off. But now both teams are on the slate, so I'm taking your Cubs, but I'm also stacking them with the Kansas City Royals. I don't know much about Ari Hara, the pitcher for Texas, but I do think that with Merrifield and Santana and Perez and Soler had a great first game. There's a nice way to stack them with the Cubs, and again, I'm going to be consistently doing that every day, like either on the all-day slate if they're playing at different slate times or in the same slate, and I'm going to see how I do, with it. It was very profitable when I did Cleveland and the Angels a couple years ago. And the things I like about these two teams is they both have catchers that hit high up in the order that are good, productive guys. So you're never really punting that position. And they have guys in the order, like both rosters, that are cheap that you can fill into positions. So I just like how they work together. They get you decent pitchers when you put them together. It's not like you have to play the worst 2 pitchers on the slate in order to get the stack in. So I'm going to try it for the season and see what happens.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, Casey, I think that's a fantastic team this year. They got the power, they got the speed, the contact, cheap pricing. So love it.
Any value plays out? I know you mentioned there's a couple of guys from Baltimore. I know you like some Detroit guys, and I think there's one Yankee that we both really like that seems to be way underpriced too.
Yeah, Jay Bruce, if he starts here, 2.3K is just laughable, especially in that lefty righty matchup. It is cold. Yanks bats haven't been hitting too well, but yeah, at 2.3K, you can do much, much worse. And that value gives you all those big bats that we kind of want here as well. We went over Boston, Detroit. I could make a case for Detroit bats. Plesac really, really struggled, and there's only two guys that are over 3.4K on Detroit.
They
So,
actually hit pretty well in the spring training games.
yeah,
I think they actually lit up some. It was one of the Yankees stud pitchers that was out there that like everybody's like,
Cole. It was the very first day of spring
yeah,
training.
yeah, it's like 75-80% ownership, and he just got, I think what they scored like 4-6 runs or something. It was crazy. So
Yeah. So, I mean, Grossman, Candelario, Castro he was the guy that I
yeah,
think you're thinking of is just a hitting machine in spring. So Detroit bats, they're cheap, so I can make a case for some of those guys too.
yeah, and that's a couple of things we talked about with string training is that we did see some pitchers that struggled in spring, and it has transferred over early in the first couple of games. But the other thing that you have to look at too is spring training. If people have already made the roster and they're secure in their rotational spot or in their roster spot, this is a great chance to try new techniques, to try changing your launch angle, to with pitchers, to try different pitches, to try to nibble different corners, things like that. Experiment time, because the
Mhm.
games don't matter and you already have your position. So it doesn't matter if you go 0-30 in spring training or 30-0. What matters is what you do, in the regular
Yeah,
season.
I'd rather take the guy that's 30 now, though.
Sure. So do we want to move on to the late slate?
Yeah, let's move on here.
Okay. So again, it's a 5-game slate. It starts tonight at 7:10. Again, so we get 10 extra minutes after NBA and NHL lock to get our MLB lines in, which I kind of like this time of year when everything's so crazy. So let me take pictures. I think there's like 3 guys that I really like. Now, the highest priced pitcher is going to be Walker Buehler. He's in Coors Field. Um, Again, I he had a rough spring, and I don't think I will be playing him in cash. Maybe sprinkle into a GPP lineup just in case he does like Bauer did last night, but I don't think that's as probable in the range of outcomes. But some guys I do really like is I'm going back to picking on the Diamondbacks. I like Musgrove. Unfortunately, it's a hitter's umpire, an extreme hitter's umpire, and Arizona's not a great K team, but he is a strikeout pitcher. I think he can keep things efficient. With the other side of the ball with Caleb Smith, I think the Padres can definitely get to him and score some runs. So the win equity is there. I'm looking also at Burns in Minnesota. I know he is up against Barrios, who is a decent pitcher. The run total is low for both of them. And Burns has a 36.9K%, which is the highest on the slate. And he's very good against righties. I think Minnesota is like a pretty righty heavy team. I think they're going to have like 6 or 7 righties potentially in this lineup. So I really like that. Who do you like, McKinley?
I mean, you hit one of my guys, Burns. I don't like using the word lock, especially in baseball, but he is going to be he's by far going to be my highest owned pitcher tonight in the late slate. But other than Burns, I'm going to be looking at Webb. Webb for San Francisco. There, he's been doing really well. His K rate was very high in the spring. 22 strikeouts in 17 innings. Again, take spring with a grain of salt, but he's got some good stuff going on here. Going against a Seattle team that they're a decent offense. They've been hitting well so far to start the season, but Logan Webb, I'm definitely going to be going on because I also need that savings Because those Coors bats are looking real good today, even more than your typical Coors. Bueller, like you said earlier, he's got some issues going on that I don't know what it is. But in the spring, he's got an ERA of 8 in 17 innings pitched, allowed 6 home runs, had a WHIP near 2. So he struggled. And then on the other side of that Coors matchup, you got Gray, who had an ERA close to 10 in his 10 innings pitched. So I see this Coors game going to be like an 11-9, 12-8 kind of game. So I'm going to be loading up both sides of that matchup. I'm just going to be full stacking it and just letting it ride from there.
Some trap plays I think that to look at is I know it seems a early reading this morning on like some of the touts in the industry is people are looking at Lance Lynn against the Angels, but that was a high scoring game yesterday. So and the Angels don't strike out. Like, I don't know what it is about the LA weather, but over like the last 5 seasons, the Dodgers and the Angels are have the lowest strikeout percentages per team of anybody in Major League Baseball. So I don't think I'll be going there. If he's the highest owned pitcher, great. I think I've got great leverage on them. Alex Cobb is 6'2", but I like the White Sox against him. I think he's a fly ball pitcher. So I think that, they might be able to get to him also. And Flexen is, I think, the cheapest one in DKs right at 6K. He pitched in the KBO last year. He was okay, but that doesn't translate to major league hitting. Like lots of American players go over to the KBO and do very well just because it's not the same level of competition. So I can definitely see some of the left-handed San Francisco bats getting at him. So I think the better thing is to take a couple of these guys that we talked about, like Burns and Webb and Musgrove, who are in the 7-8K range. And it might not give you every bat you want, but I think, as we talk through bats on both the Dodgers and the Padres, I don't want to bury the lead, the teams will probably be stacking again. There are some value plays and there are some great value plays in the San Francisco and Seattle game too that can help you get who you want. So if you have to go Dodgers, you have to go Padres. Which do you like, McKinley?
I mean, I'm going Dodgers. But if we just take Coors out because obviously I'm all over them. Yeah, I like the Padres here. Pham possibly leading off 3.3K. Great value there.
Yes,
Cronenworth.
I know we don't like to say lock, but just that situation and having the splits advantage. And if he does lead off, I think he's definitely an outfielder that you need to start with.
Yeah, Cronenworth, he's looked well to start the season here. Will Myers, righty lefty, he went yard that first night, which was fantastic. So, like in the Padres, I know I just said I liked Webb as my pitcher, as my SP2 here, but Seattle's got some cheap bats.
Friend of the show, Trammell.
Haniger 3.1,
Yeah.
Trammell 2.2, White, not a great hitter, but in the cleanup spot, 2.7. Just looking down their lines, they got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They possibly have 5 bats today that are 3K or less.
Even if you take the 6-7 and the catcher, or even if you go 5-7-8, so you're taking Trammell, Fraley, who's lefty and righty, and Murphy, who isn't a bad hitting catcher. That's only about 7K right there of salary.
Yeah,
which is like 1.5 Dodgers.
Which is sadly true.
Yeah, and the Dodgers are starting to get priced up now. Like Turner came out at 3.5, and now he's in the 5K party with all the rest of them. So it's
yeah. So looking there, who knows? I doubt he'll be going today against a righty, but Andrew Vaughn for Chicago White Sox. He came in the 2K starting lineup last night. I watched the game actually, and he showed up and MLB debut. I don't know if you've seen Andrew Vaughn here, but he is the oldest looking 23-year-old I have ever seen. he showed me that. I was like,
He
damn,
was
it's like,
shaving in the 6th grade.
it's like, wait, he's clean shaven.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if it was his stance in the box. He just looked strong in it, but dude, look, I thought he was like 30 when he pulled up, and I was like, holy cow. But yeah, I doubt he's going today.
I
But
think
if
he's the
he
number
does,
one prospect in baseball. So I know they're bringing it along slowly, but if they didn't want to commit to him, they would do like, some of these teams have done to some of these rookies, and they send them down and then they bring them up a little bit later so that they don't like lose like time and stuff with them. So
mhm. And yeah, I mean, it's tough with the prospects on right now. Like Vaughn, we had the shortened season last year with COVID, minor leagues getting scratched. So he hasn't really had the nice, easy transition into the majors like most do. But yeah, I was watching last night and I was like, that's fantastic. But if he's in, I don't know what's his pricing for tonight. He
see.
was 2K. He's 2.1. They bumped him up to
Okay.
2.1.
Oh,
So
geez.
I mean, if
I,
he's
I don't know
in,
if I can afford the extra 100
you
there. That's
definitely need
rough.
to be looking at that and just like what his ability can bring. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and with the Dodgers being expensive, like I don't think you can do. I think you want like Turner, Seager, bets, but it's hard to get like Bellinger in there. I'm not paying how much Beatty is. He's way up there for a catcher. If Smith was in, that's one thing. He's a better hitter, but Beatty, especially hitting lower in the order. But I think
and
people are
Beatty's
overlooking like Greg
2.9.
Lux. Like he's been doing really well. He's only 4K, which is reasonable. So I think, if I'm using the Dodgers, I'm going like Turner, Seager, Betts, Pollock, and then Lux is like my fifth one.
Yep, right there with you, right there with you. Beatty's 2.9. I could see it. I
Okay.
could see it. But yeah, I'm on the same bats as you right there. The four you just listed.
Okay. So who else do we like? The Padres, we like the Dodgers. I think I like the White Sox again in a GPP stack. I think they can definitely get the Cobb. Um, they've
They're
got a lot of switch hitters in the lineup. So even if Vaughn's not in, like I can take anywhere like 1 through 6, mix and match them. And
yeah,
then I think the value is in the San Francisco and Seattle game. I know you talked about Seattle, but look at the San Francisco side. Like Listella leading off at 3-3. Again, Flexen's not a great pitcher. Yastrzemski's a little bit expensive, but you got like Dickerson there at 3-4. You got the ageless wonder Barand and Belt, who's 4-2.
mm-hmm.
And I don't think Posey will be catching today. I think it will probably be Casal. But
Is Posey gonna hit a home run every single night?
I don't know. Like again, like where there's got to be something in that like San Francisco Bay, like drinking the water out there or something. Like some of these guys that have like, you know, keep on coming back. Like I feel like they've been playing for like 20 years. They're probably playing baseball before Andrew Vaughn was born in the major
Great.
league level.
I know we were just you and I were talking the other day about Zach Greinke,
Yeah,
2001 draft. He's still going. Andrew Vaughn was 2 when
yeah.
Zach Greinke was drafted, and they could be sharing a field. So
Crazy. Anything else stick out on the slate? Any other values? Anything that you think we missed?
not really. I think we covered pretty much who's kind of going to be in the lines tonight.
Okay. Well, thanks again for watching. If you want more information, go to fsidfs.com and you can sign up. Actually, check our Twitter page and online. I think we're running a promotion for a free month of baseball. So check out the details there on what you have to do to qualify. And tomorrow's Easter Sunday, and happy Easter for those of you who are celebrating. We'll see if time-wise that if we can get up a video for that. If not, we will definitely return on Monday for the breakdown of that slate. So good luck to you today, and hopefully we see some green screens.